Hello and welcome to the Gaia update for the Venus retrograde of 2017. I'm Adrienne Elise. Well, Venus turns retrograde about every year and a half, and so this year it happens on March 4th to April 15th. But we feel it for quite a bit longer. And Venus, as a personal planet, our planet of love and value and beauty, this is a planet that when we feel it when it turns retrograde. It rules also our relationships. So it's something to pay attention to. So it's also, though, we feel the retrograde longer because we feel the planet as it goes into its shadow period of time, which started on January 30th. That's when it was at 26 degrees Pisces, the place where it will get back to after it will go back to in its retrograde. So on January 30th, it hit that point. Now on February 4th, it hit the Aries point for the first time. The Aries point is 0 degrees Aries. It's the very beginning of the astrological calendar of the year. And so Pisces is the end, and it's the primordial coming back to source, and Aries is the beginning, the spark of creation. So the Aries point is a really potent point for manifesting, for clarity, for leaping off into the forward motion in our lives. And so Venus makes 3 passes over this Aries point throughout this retrograde season. So it's really potent what's happening. It's telling us, the stars are telling us right now, something really, really important is happening, because we've got this energy of Pisces and the energy of Aries, and Pisces is the primordial energy and Aries is the spark of creation. And so together we're talking about the conception point. And so we're literally at a conception point for our new age, our new humanity, and it has a lot to do with the feminine. Venus is our feminine personal planet, and so it's speaking to the feminine within each of us. So when Venus goes retrograde, the energy of Venus about what we love, what we desire, what we value in our life, money and relationships, all of that, it kind of goes in an inward turn. Venus retrograde is a very interesting time because it can feel vulnerable. It can feel like you're kind of oversensitive. But right now it's in Aries, which is like not an oversensitive type of energy. Aries is the beginning. It's the spark. It's the identity. It's the child. It's the new. And so Venus in Aries is the warrior goddess, and it's really kind of a cool energy in this retrograde turning in Aries, because it's an opportunity for ourselves to really look at our own value of ourself. So we talked about Venus being the planet of what we value, and as it turns inward, we're having an opportunity to look. Turns retrograde, we can turn inward and have an opportunity to look at how we are valuing ourselves. And this is really potent with the energy that's going on in the world right now. It's calling for change, dramatic structural change of our lives. And so with Jupiter triggering the Pluto-Uranus square of this dramatic change, Jupiter is in Libra, the sign of relationships, ruled by Venus. And so this Venus retrograde and this powerful Jupiter opposite Uranus in Aries. So Uranus is in Aries, bringing this potent energy of this revolution, lightning fast change, generational change, but that's in the sign of the self. So it's our identity shift. And so then we have, on the opposite of that, we have Jupiter, our expansion planet. Wherever Jupiter grows, it grows and expands. And so it's in the sign of Libra, which is our relationships. So we're finding a new identity in ourselves, and we are adjusting our relationships because of that. And so our relationships are kind of on the table right now. And of course, all of our relationships go back to our relationship with ourselves. And this is this opportunity to be like, where am I honoring myself? Where am I valuing myself? Because how can I expect this world to value me and receive from this world if I'm not valuing myself? So it's a really great time during this Venus retrograde to make a very intentional energy towards self-care. And that can really help this process along. During this Venus retrograde, you'll run into your ex-partners and also your friends that you may have not seen for a while. It's a time for reunions. And that is kind of an interesting thing because it can be very healing or it can be destructive, or maybe it can be a little bit of both. But there's great opportunity for deepening current relationships, reevaluating longer-term relationships, and opening up to new relationships. Because we are on the Aries point, the goddess, the feminine, is having a rebirth. And so a lot of that is about what we allow in relationships and where we value ourselves. So the relationships, the energy of relationships that's coming up right now is about, is this serving my individual identity? And do I need to reevaluate? And what does it look like for my life to support me in the truth of who I am? Because that Uranus and Aries is this revolution of the self, this new identity in our collective consciousness as we shift into this new age. And so our lives are evolving. First you go through the vibrational changes and then the structures change. So it's kind of like when you get a cold, you first have the symptoms. You're most contagious before you even show the symptoms. And so by the time the symptoms come, that's the structural changes. First an energy change, then a structural change. We've been going through a potent, powerful energy change with this Pluto-Uranus square over the last 5 years. And now, 5-6 years now we are starting to show these changes, and Venus is speaking to this right now as she goes back and forth over this Aries point. So that first Aries point happened on February 4th, and then on March 4th, a month later, is when the goddess turned retrograde at 13 degrees Aries. So made it to 13 degrees Aries, and then in this retrograde motion, which really means that it's just apparently moving backwards, but it really means it's actually getting closer to the Earth. So what happens during a Venus retrograde is that Venus has been an evening star and now is going behind the Earth, so we can't the Earth, so we can't see it at night, and then it comes up as a morning star, and then eventually will come back to being an evening star. So this is called the underworld, or the Lucifer phase of Venus. And so it really is when we're going into the depths of our shadows and subconscious around our feminine and having an opportunity to shine the light in these places. Well, talk about shining the light. We've got right when Venus turns direct on April 15th. It's hanging out with Chiron. Chiron, the wounded healer in Pisces of the collective consciousness. So we're speaking and looking at the wounds of the feminine in the collective consciousness. And how does this play out in our life where we don't value ourselves, or we are not allowing our life to represent what really matters to us and what we really care about? So at the beginning of this retrograde in March, there's a potent energy with that Pluto-Uranus square in Jupiter, and Vesta is opposite of Pluto. So it makes a grand cross, and Vesta is a goddess of our sacred fire, our passionate fire of service, the world, what we really care about and what we want to express creatively and as a way of service in the world. And so it's our higher calling, our higher spiritual passion path, I would call it. So this is massively getting activated, and it's saying, hey, we're not just breaking down to break down. We're not just demoing the building to leave a big pile of rubble here. We're demoing the building so that we can recycle, clean up, throw away, and clean the slate for this new structure that can support who we really are in our path of higher passionate service, what we came here to do on the earth. So many souls have been just kind of making it through life, feeling like it's just been about survival. And this massive awakening is happening in certain soul groups right now, where there's just like a gong going off in their head and saying, whoa, wake up. I have something I need to do here. I'm not just living to live. There's something greater for me here. And this is a potent and powerful time. And so this Venus retrograde is an opportunity to slow down, take care of ourselves, clean up, go within, and allow for these deeper inner healing, forgiveness, love, self-love, valuing the self, becoming whole in the self, and getting ready, healing that divine feminine within, the feminine within that has not been able to be supported in this world. And so the goddess is, Venus is just taking this retrograde, speaking to us about this, speaking to us that, so Mars and Venus, our male and female planet, were right there together, 4 to 5 degrees apart for most of February before Venus took its retrograde. And so Mars went ahead and hit Uranus in Aries, and that had a powerful trigger of that Pluto-Uranus square, but Venus took a retrograde. And so Venus is not going to hit Uranus until the beginning of June, the end of May. So this is the cycle here. These next couple of months are just like really intense, and it has to do with this reevaluation of what I really care about, what I really love, what I really value, my relationship with money, my relationship with relationships, my relationship with myself, my relationship with other people. So a great time to take time for yourself, value yourself, and step forward and show up in your relationships in a new and different way from that self-care. And see what comes forward. Massive opportunities for healing around our most fundamental belief systems in relationships is happening here. Now, with the... basically, the March 4th is when Venus turns retrograde, and then on March 12th is a powerful full moon, and that full moon is when that Vesta Grand Cross is happening, really potent, and so it's stimulating this energy of our higher path, our higher purpose, and bringing that into the mix. It's like, hey, we're not just doing this to do this, we're doing this to build our new way of expressing ourselves in the world. So it's that one is a full moon in Virgo, and so that's a lot of energy of let's clean this up, clean the slate, clean this up, clean up our collective conscious, clean up our belief systems, how they are manifesting, our conditioning belief systems are manifesting in our personal relationships like weeds. And it's time to pluck out those weeds, reprogram, and do it our own way. So, in April is when things get kind of potent, because at the beginning of April is when Venus makes its second pass over the Aries point, meaning it's going back into Pisces. And so that's going to be a big shift, because Venus and Aries and Venus and Pisces have very different energies. And so the Venus and Aries is about standing up for yourself, figuring out what you want, giving yourself permission to be who you are, and being that warrior goddess for your truth. And then in Pisces, it's about connecting and kind of joining with the collective. There's a desire to merge. And so this is maybe where we're pulled into old situations in order to heal them. And it's kind of an interesting time. And so the other thing that happens after Aries goes into Pisces is that Mercury takes a retrograde. So this is going to be kind of an intense week, I think, April 9th through the 15th, when Mercury and Venus are both retrograde, and Mercury is retrograde in Taurus, which is Venus is a ruler of Taurus. And so we're going to be having some potent energy around this feminine and valuing the earth energy, valuing the feminine, valuing beauty and love and compassion. And so but that week is going to be really pulling inward and with this Pisces energy, and that is also because Venus will be approaching Chiron again for a second pass. It already went over Chiron in February, and then it's going to go back to Chiron. It goes back to Chiron and turns direct right there. So Venus is hanging out there with Chiron. We're going to be feeling that between the 14th and the 22nd. So Venus turns direct on the 15th, right there with Chiron. This is when we're going to be revealing a lot of things in our life, this shift, this change, kind of, we're in confusion about what's been going on and what we really care about. But when that Venus turns direct, we're going to have some more direction. We're going to have some more understanding about what this era means in our life and on the planet. And so that's a really potent time. And at the end of the month, at the 28th of April is when it passes over its third time over the Aries point and goes back into Aries. So the whole month of April, it's in Pisces. Otherwise, it has a whole bunch, Venus has a whole bunch of time in Aries. So it's that warrior goddess standing up for your new self, standing up for the feminine part of yourself, your passionate path of service here on the planet, what you're really meant to be doing, and giving yourself the self-care for that. The Pisces is going to be about healing and merging and joining in order to understand the other person, and it'll be a great time for reconciliation and healing. If there is any drama, Aries can be kind of dramatic, and so depending how this works in your chart, the Venus retrograde in Aries could have some drama, and then Pisces has an energy of kind of reconciliation, but also really going deeply into understanding the value shift that's demanded of us on the planet right now as we come out of the Piscean age. And so we're looking at these past wounds, this Chiron, the wounds of the collective, over the degradation of the feminine on the planet. Not just females, but the feminine energy, the healing, the love, the compassion, the beauty, the nature. So it's kind of like a rebirth, a definitely rebirth for the goddess within ourselves, valuing the feminine within, and a rebirth of all of humanity into this more balanced, appropriate structures for who we really are as we move into our higher path of service, with Vesta opposing Pluto. Now Pluto's in Capricorn, Vesta's saying this is in Cancer. It's our higher path of service to the earth, to loving, to humanity, to nurturing, to the mothering ourselves into this next age. You know, this is such a potent energy because that full moon in Virgo is kind of speaking to like the Virgin. It's about like the birth, the giving birth, and Cancer is a sign of mothering. And so it's like we are really getting mothered and birthed into this new age. But Pluto in Capricorn, the structures, and Vesta is saying, hey, this is the reevaluation of our structures that we need. We are here on the planet to experience something more than suffering and war and poverty and competition and fighting our way through this life. There is amazing technologies out there available to us that have been not shared with the public that can allow us to evolve to this next place. And we're all actually changing technologically in our body as our DNA activates with this incredible energies. 2017 is so potent, activating us into the truth of who we really are, our true path of service. And we're going to be really feeling that when the North Node moves into Leo in May. So May is going to be potent. We've got April is kind of like, whoa, Venus and Chiron turning direct, Venus, retrograde and direct in Pisces, moving back into Aries for May. Now May 3rd, Mercury goes direct, so that's going to be when we really feel like we're moving forward again. So the Venus direct is going to be like, whoa, we're coming out of this a potent time of reevaluation, of going deep within in our value system. And then now it's like, whoa, back into Aries, and then Mercury turning direct. And so then we're going to feel like 2017 is really going to start. And it's May 10th that the North Node moves into Leo. So Leo is about expression, creativity, fire, light, giving, compassion, open-heartedness. And so it's a very different energy than the North Node in Virgo, which is about discrimination and cleaning up and getting organized. And so now we're expressing this new world. You can see this pattern of the spark, the conception, and then now the birth. And so 2017 is this birth into a new humanity. And so May is when we're really going to feel it. Now, it's not until May 21st that Mercury comes out of its shadow. And the end of May is when Venus finally meets up with Uranus in Aries. And that will really be the completion of this whole Venus retrograde cycle. So it's not till the end of May, beginning of June, that we're going to be seeing the light of this, seeing what this is really about, and then taking those huge leaps forward. So that's a great time in May or June to kind of be ready to take different steps in your life. You know, a big step in a different direction fits in that time. And what's happening right now is a culmination period of the past and a preparation for the future as Venus, the goddess, what we love, what we care about, what we value, over and over the Aries point, the spark of creation, the beginning of the new. So congratulations on making it this far into 2017. We finally get to move into this new age. And I'm here just because I am passionate about helping people through this awakening experience. And so call on me if you need a session. If you're looking for some support, an intuitive healing session can get you on your path, figure out where you're going, help you figure out that passionate path, and get you answers to the questions that you need, as well as reset your vibrational system and timeline alignment, soul retrieval, some of the things, past life healings and clearings. That's what happens in an intuitive session. So if you need support on your journey, I'm here for you, and go ahead and sign up for a session. And so I hope you have a wonderful Venus retrograde, and it's a potent, powerful time all the way through mid to end of May. And then we're going to be heading in potentially a whole new direction. So I hope this time is potent and beautiful for you, and I look forward to checking in with you next time. I hope you'll check out my offerings at adrienneelise.com. Namaste.